Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to talk about Makenzie De Armas's declared first D&D canon autistic character. So Makenzie De Armas is an Asian woman who is on the official. She is an official Dungeons and Dragons designer. I don't think she's a senior designer. I think she's simply a designer. But she is all about representation, and actually I think all D&D designers are thinking about representation right now because they're trying to fix excuse me, a significant problem in Dungeons and Dragons past, which is it's not actually it's a problem in Dungeons and Dragons past, it's a problem in Dungeons and Dragons present, right? And frankly, it's a problem in Dungeons and Dragons future because they haven't even announced any intention to change it, right? So what is that? There has never been anything but a white man who has been the Dungeons and Dragons design lead, and it's doubly true today, right? Chris Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, just literally doubling down on only white men get to be the design lead on Dungeons and Dragons, and that's not appropriate. That's not appropriate in any way. Right? And so you could bet that Makenzie De Armas is, I think she is scoping, right, the design lead. And I think every woman who gets on the design team now, everybody's looking sideways and going, are you going to be the first female, are you going to be the first woman to be the Dungeons and Dragons design lead ever in history? Are you going to break this exact same, like 44 white male presidents in a row, right? We have this, only white men can be the president, only white men can be the D&D design lead, right? And we need to break this. Representation is important. But what's interesting, and the purpose of this video, is Makenzie De Armas just got representation dramatically wrong, right? And she's all about representation. Like, she literally, she's very aware of every representation problem on Dungeons & Dragons. And so she's been trying to insert that representation into Dungeons & Dragons design, which is completely a noble effort and should be happening, right? And it is happening, right? We are changing the face of Dungeons & Dragons design in the face of who can play Dungeons & Dragons, because people see themselves in Dungeons & Dragons, right? But Makenzie De Armas just stepped in it, man. She got representation horribly wrong, and I want to talk about it. All right, so what did she do wrong? All right, so first of all, she created Austeria. Austeria is partner to Ilwir. I can't pronounce this Medusa. So Austeria is partner to this Medusa, and this Medusa and Austeria together create the deck of many things, right? Yulweir. I think her name is Yulweir. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong there. And so basically, but Makenzie De Armas completely cocked up, creating. First of all, I don't think she actually created the first D&D canonic autistic character. She's claiming to have done it. I don't think she achieved it. And the reason why is she's saying, as a designer, I've created this autistic character. But nowhere in the D&D lore does it declare her to be autistic. Nowhere, and nowhere in the D&D canon hardback does it communicate to the people reading that this is an autistic character. Here's what she did. So Makenzie De Armas is like, I'm autistic. Let me take a bunch of my autistic properties and put it onto this character. They're autistic. No, that's not how autism works, right? Many behaviors of autistic people are demonstrated by people who are not autistic, right? That is not like you are autistic when you are diagnosed as autistic, so there's a high bar. So somebody's going to do it. I think at some point there will be a canonically autistic character in Dungeons & Dragons. Makenzie De Armas did not do it, right? She put in a character with autistic attributes and said she's autistic. Here's the problem. Makenzie De Armas said this. She said, autism permeates every aspect of Austeria's life, right? With this, and her life living with this Medusa Ulweir. And so she says, hey, she's autistic, and it permeates her life, but it doesn't define her, right? So Makenzie De Armas is trying to communicate this truth about autism, right? That autism is a condition that people have and it can permeate their lives, but it doesn't define them. The problem is Makenzie De Armas literally did what she didn't do what she claimed to do. She claimed to make the first D&D canonically autistic character. She didn't accomplish that. And the reason why, she didn't put it into the book. She didn't say, this is an autistic character. She just said it in interviews. That's not enough, right? Like that doesn't put anything into canon. You sitting with Todd Kenrick does nothing to change D&D canon, right? Now, what's interesting, right? You have to do it in the book. You have to do it in the book. And if you don't, you didn't do anything, right? So you just made a character that had autistic attributes. That doesn't mean, or properties, that doesn't mean they're autistic, right? Like they have to be diagnosed. It has to be declared in the book. It wasn't. And there was risk to that. And she didn't take that risk, but she's claiming the prize even though she didn't do the risk. Here's the problem. She literally is defining Austeria by her autism, right? And saying, I have created the first D&D canon autism character, defining Austeria literally by this one attribute, right? And so what does it mean when someone who knows everything about representation and should get it right absolutely fails? First of all, there was no ill will. She didn't do it on purpose. She didn't do it to harm anybody, right? But she did it. She did it wrong, and she defined that character, Austeria, by her autism, which is outrageously wrong and inappropriate at every single level, right? So where do we land? Very, very interesting, right? This is interesting. So what I think is very interesting is, what then do we take from Makenzie De Armas's completely botched attempt to create a D&D canon autistic character, not accomplishing it, and then literally defining this character by autism, like saying, oh, this is the most important attribute of this character, right? Not the fact that she's a princess of paladin, not the fact that she has this rich, deep relationship with this Medusa, not the fact that she's an adventurer, not the fact that she's accomplished. It's the important part is she's autistic, right? Like that is literally defining the character by her autism. So she is doing what she's trying to teach others not to do, right? Now, what does this mean? Well, it's a glorious failure, right? We proceed forward and try to fix representation in Dungeons & Dragons. Sometimes we fail dramatically. Doesn't mean the attempt wasn't worth the attempt. The attempt was worth it, right? And so that's the point. I think that's my takeaway, is there is incredible value in failure. And Makenzie De Armas failed to do what she tried to do. She failed to create an autistic character because she didn't claim it. She didn't take the risk and actually put it in the book, that she was autistic, right? She didn't put it in the lore. She didn't put it in the D&D canon hardback. So she didn't do anything, right? And then she claimed it. And then she defined the character by her autism, claiming not to. So she did what she claimed she wasn't doing and didn't do what she was claiming to do. But it is a glorious failure, right? Her intent is correct. We need to fix representation in Dungeons & Dragons. And what we need to do is we need to realize sometimes when people do it, they get it so wrong, like 100% wrong, all the opposite of what is attempting to be accomplished, right? But we need to be forgiving, and we need to be understanding that sometimes we just screw up. And Makenzie De Armas did a major screw up. Now, that's okay. Why is she doing a major screw up? Because she's she is in Gary's legacy. She is helping to build this legacy. And so that's why she did this. And I think that's very important to understand. And Gary had a huge legacy of massive mistakes. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.